Tales from the Crypt, Fatal Caper, stands as one of those episodes that perfectly encapsulates the grim moral compass and twisted irony that defined the entire series. Set against a backdrop of greed, deceit, and spectral justice, the episode unravels like a cautionary parable for the modern age, dressed in gothic decadence and subtle humor. Watching it, one is immediately reminded that the essence of Tales from the Crypt lies not merely in scares but in its unrelenting mirror held up to human vice. The story begins with an inheritance dispute, a scenario as old as literature itself. Two brothers, deeply estranged, reunite in the shadow of their father's death. Their father's will contains a clause that sets in motion a darkly comic and deeply symbolic journey. Whoever retrieves the missing body of their dead brother will inherit the family fortune. This premise, deceptively simple, carries the seed of moral decay. What follows is a descent into madness, envy, and guilt that unfolds through a visual language of grotesque beauty. Every frame, from the flicker of candlelight on the coffin lid to the exaggerated expressions of greed on the brothers' faces, communicates a world where morality has been hollowed out. One of the episode's most compelling elements is the way it treats death not as an ending, but as a transaction. The living and the dead negotiate power in a grotesque market of flesh and revenge. This inversion of the natural order, where corpses influence the fates of the living, illustrates the central theme of the series: moral retribution disguised as horror. The direction captures this idea through a deliberate contrast between decay and elegance. Scenes that should be solemn are treated with almost theatrical levity. The coffin, the graveyard, the eerie laughter of the crypt keeper at the opening, all of it feels both absurd and sinister. It's as if the show is winking at its audience, reminding us that human wickedness is, at its core, pitifully predictable. There's a rhythm to Fatal Caper that feels like a stage play, each scene building toward an ironic revelation. The dialogue, full of double meanings and subtle sarcasm, reflects the psychological war between the brothers. One might recall similar moral conflicts in Shakespearean tragedies, but here the tone is stripped of grandeur and dipped in black comedy. The performances elevate this narrative tension. The actors move between sincerity and caricature with deliberate exaggeration, embodying characters who are both human and grotesque. When one brother feigns grief to conceal his desire for wealth, we see the mask of mourning slip, revealing the raw ugliness beneath. The camera lingers on their faces just long enough to make us uncomfortable, forcing us to confront the truth that horror often resides not in the supernatural, but in human selfishness. As the story progresses, the physical journey to retrieve the body becomes a metaphorical descent into hell. The landscape itself mirrors their internal corruption. Stormy skies, rotting wood, and flickering torches serve as visual metaphors for moral decay. The director employs chiaroscuro lighting reminiscent of classic noir cinema, transforming greed into a tangible presence that seems to haunt the brothers. When the inevitable twist arrives, the discovery that the supposedly dead brother is not as gone as they believed, it feels both shocking and inevitable. This is the brilliance of Fatal Caper. It delivers its retribution with poetic symmetry. The punishment always fits the crime, but in a way that feels simultaneously cruel and humorous. The final scenes tie the narrative back to the show's central ethos. You can cheat the living, but not the dead. What lingers after the credits is not fear, but a bitter recognition of human folly. The grotesque humor that punctuates the final act reminds us that Tales from the Crypt never moralizes. It simply exposes. Each death, each betrayal, is a reflection of choices made, and the audience is left complicit, laughing and horrified at once. Personally, what makes this episode resonate is its timelessness. I first watched Fatal Caper in a dimly lit room on a rainy evening, expecting a simple ghost story. Instead, I found a dark satire about inheritance, legacy, and the way greed outlives even the flesh. The moment when the surviving brother realizes the futility of his schemes still echoes like a cruel joke from the grave. The episode's structure also mirrors the logic of a nightmare: circular, relentless, and poetic. In the end, Fatal Caper stands not merely as a story of horror, but as a moral allegory cloaked in humor and decay. It reminds us that in the pursuit of wealth, one often digs one's own grave, literally and figuratively. Its twisted elegance, visual wit, and sharp moral irony make it one of the most memorable pieces in the anthology, a dark gem gleaming in the crypt of television history.